So it is appropriate and important for us to talk about the critical world event that's taking place in Europe, or on the border of Europe and Asia, the war between Ukraine and Russia. And it is very comforting to see the entire world, almost, political leaders, politicians of all levels, world organizations, sports organizations, internet providers, even businesses that work in different services such as pets. It is very comforting to see everybody getting together to denounce oppression, aggression, to reject injustice. It is definitely comforting for us Muslims to hear this. And it is important to quote from world leaders their opinion on this war. And I start with Joe Biden, the US president, where he said, "Who in the world's name does Putin, the Russian president, think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territories that belong to his neighbors, i.e., belong to others? Who gave Putin the right to occupy neighboring countries or lands that's not his?" Joe Biden is denouncing this. Great. Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, said, "They are fighting back perhaps with more effect, with more resistance than the Kremlin had bargained for." He's praising people fighting for their rights. He is praising freedom fighters that are fighting for their lands, that are fighting for their blood, that are fighting to protect their people. This is amazing, mashallah. We're very proud to hear this. Barack Obama, the former president of the US, saying people of conscience around the world need to loudly and clearly condemn Russia's actions of oppression, actions of transgression. Amazing. This is amazing to see the world rallying behind justice. Locally, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and our MPs and our government denouncing Russia's aggression against Ukraine, denouncing killing civilians and innocents, intimidating children, killing elders, killing women. They're denouncing all of this. Again, this is worthy of our admiration to such positions. For us Muslims, we definitely would take the same stand. Would definitely declare that humans' lives are sacred. Humans' personal properties are sacred. Their lands is sacred. And we will definitely condemn such aggression. But here I pose a question. Is this position from world leaders and organizations, I mean, for God's sake, even FIFA, the World Sports Organization, denounced and sanctioned Russian teams from participating in international sports events. Very noble, mashallah, very noble. Is this position real? Is this position global? Is this position, does it apply to all humanity? Or does it only apply to people that look like us, whoever us is, or look like them? Or it only applies to people that speak the same language? or have the same religion, or have the same color of eyes, or skin color? Are these real global values? Because if they are, we will stand by them. Because if they are, we probably should have heard the exact same declarations and announcements and very strong movements when the same thing is happening in Palestine since 1948. When the same thing has been happening in Syria by the same army of Putin in Syria for the past few years. When the same thing is happening to the Uyghurs in China for years. We're definitely against oppression. But it has to be real. It has to be real, and we're happy that the entire world now is realizing they can stand together against oppression. And we're hoping it's not just going to stop here, because the oppressed is of the same color and the same race. It needs to go beyond this. And this is where we need to understand Islam's positions on justice. Justice is not selective. Justice doesn't only apply to one race over the other. It is global. We want to be global. We apply it in a global way. The standards of values should be one. No double standards when it comes to values, when it comes to humans' lives, when it comes to respect, when it comes to justice. There is no band when it comes to applying such values. Justice is justice, only one. When we start becoming selective about applying values, mainly justice, then we know we have a problem called hypocrisy, a problem called lying, disingenuous. And this is what we don't want to see from our politicians. And I specifically talk about Canadian politicians here. As Canadian citizens, we demand this noble position to be applied everywhere and for everybody. And I want to share with the entire world Islam's position when it comes to al-adl or al-qist. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 8 told us 1400 years ago, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam delivered this great ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe. Now, O you who believe, it includes the people that believe in Islam. However, we know that the messages in the Quran al-Kareem are universal, applicable to everybody, whether you want to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. Listen up. Listen to the proper standards from the Lord, the Creator of the heavens and the earth, who knows us more than anybody else, and knows what works for us more than anybody else. O you who believe, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, kunu qawwamina lillah, shuhada'a bil qist. قوامين لله, be قوام لله. قوام صيغة مبالغة من القيام وتستوجب الحركة. كونوا قوامين بالله لله, be قوام. قوام means, it implies taking actions. That's what a qawwam is. The opposite of sitting down, relaxing, doing nothing. Qawwam is standing up, continuously standing up. Continuously taking actions for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for the sake of my own gains or interests. Move for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Take actions immediately. For what? قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط. You need to be witnesses. Not just to say, I condemn this. You move, you take actions for justice. Move for justice. Speak for justice. Continuously, always. Not for the sake of your own benefits, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means to benefit humans, all humans. And it doesn't stop there. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا عَدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم أي لا يحملنكم بغض قوم لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم. Do not allow your personal feelings to interfere with justice. So whether you love the person or not, it doesn't matter. Whether this person has the same eyes colors, it doesn't matter. Whether this person has the same color of skin, it doesn't matter. Whether they have the same religion or not, it doesn't matter. Justice is justice, applies to all. لا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم ألا تعدلوا. Even if you hate that person because maybe they hurt you before. It could be justified hatred. It could be justified feelings. But even if it's justified ill feelings, justice rises above all. اعدلوا هو أقرب التقوى. Exercise justice. Do not hold back justice. Anybody that's in a state of oppression, you need to stand up beside them. اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a very strong message. You want to be closer to taqwa? You want to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Justice rises above all. It's not tied to your hawa. Justice is not tied to your whims and desires and feelings. It's an absolute value. Inna Allah khabirun bima ta'malun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're doing and why you're doing it. If you're doing it for the right reason, you will get support from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you're not going to be able to push justice or injustice back. Because we see nations that have been suffering injustice for 70 years, 80 years, 100 years. But I don't know. Is it because they're Muslims or Arab? I really don't know. But I guess the answer is clear to all of us. We salute, commend the entire world for standing up against justice. We commend our government for standing up against. Some governments went as far as inviting their own citizens to go fight in Ukraine. Fatah Bab al-Jihad. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. This is great. I'm not being sarcastic. Is this going to be the same thing when we see Palestine being bombed? Because it does happen every second year or so. Is this going to be the same when we see our sisters and brothers in Syria being bombed? Is this going to be the same when we see Muslim brothers and sisters in China being held up and locked up for their beliefs? Time will tell. But the message is, if you want to support justice, it's absolute. Don't be a hypocrite. And we demand from our MPs and our governments to be real and genuine about justice, not just to use it for worldly gain.